Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and in this video let's talk about the descent preparation and the descent in the ATR 72 series. Now, we are right now inbound to Koput waypoint, and that means we are on our standard arrival already, which I'm bringing up on the chart for you right now, which is the Gran Canaria 5 Sierra arrival into Fuerteventura. We can see that we are already heading towards Koput, and thereafter we are going to proceed straight ahead towards Sirpu, and then we are planning the ILS Zulu approach for runway 01 at Fuerteventura Airport. Now, in the FMC we've programmed the Sirpu transition, but that leads onto the 12 DME arc, which is a little bit, complicated, so chances are that air traffic control might just about clear us direct to the 7.4 miles final, which is the final approach fix, or maybe direct to Learbu. So we are going to keep those in mind as we start preparing for the arrival. And here is basically what we have. In the FMC, right now we have our standard arrival, which is currently inbound to Koput. And then after Koput we have the 54 mile point, where we have a 220 knot restriction. And from there on we are going to proceed directly towards Sirpu, and that is what we have in the FMC up here as well. Thereafter, however, we might very well expect a shortcut. So in order to prepare for the shortcut, we got to check a couple of things, and things are going to start by making sure that we've got all the required descent constraints. So if we just about leave the plan mode, we can enter the vertical revision. We can see at the Golf Delta Victor 54 point we have a 220 knot speed constraint in here, which equals our chart up here. And then from there on, if we go back into the plan mode, we can basically go all the way forwards to the arc that we are supposed to fly, and then from the Lima point onwards, according to the ILS Zulu procedure, we are going to proceed towards the final approach fix. Sorry for that. So we are going to proceed towards the final approach fix like we can see it up here. If we check the waypoints, we've got Sirpu, we've got the DME 223 November point. Thereafter we have the 12 DME arc towards the Lima point, which we can see up here. This is a little bit of an arc there, so that does seem correct. And then from there towards the final approach fix. Now this is marked with turn left onto 005 inbound, which makes it look a little bit strange on the navigation display, but unfortunately that is what it looks like at the moment. Now, in order to estimate the shortcut, we can do the following. The ATR's descent profile is quite easy. It is based upon a 3-degree profile, so we can assume that for every 1,000 feet of altitude we are going to cover 3 nautical miles. So if we start at the final approach fix and say we want to be at 2,500 over there, then we've got roughly 10 miles to the November point, which means that we should be around 5,500 feet at the November point in order to be on a nice 3-degree profile. So I'm going to change our altitude restrictions in there at the November point to match 5,500 feet. And by doing that, we should get a more reliable enough profile for our descent. Okay, this has redrawn our top of descent up here, and now we are prepared for the shortcut. So let's go ahead with the stuff we need to enter in our FMC in order to prepare for the arrival. We started with our routing already, which we have just completed, and I'm going to make a backup of that in the secondary flight plan once again. Copy, execute, thanks. Okay, next up we need to set up our performance. So we are going to press the performance page. The cruising page is all filled out, as you can see automatically. So let's go ahead and go to the performance approach page. Transition altitude we can take from the chart up here, 6,000 feet. And let's also quickly get the weather. I'm going to use the Navigraph charts for that. Obviously you could use other functions as well. The QNH is 1013, so we can leave the default value in. And for the wind, we have 090 at 6 and slightly variable. So we are just going to enter the mean wind, which is going to be 090 at 6. And we have 0 gusts. We need to enter that as well at the end. So pretty much like this. And this is going to automatically calculate our approach speeds for us. And that is basically the FMS fully prepared for the arrival. Next up, we need to set up our frequencies. So let's go to nav. And then I want an active frequency of 109.5, which is the ILS. A little bit difficult to reach, but here we go. So 109.5. Enter. Now that's active. And I want that on the receiver number 2 as well. So 109.5 active on both radios. For the missed approach then, let's tune Fuerteventura VOR 114.1 on both sides, which we can do in the standbys. 114.1, and let's do that on the other side as well. 114.1. Enter. Okay, with that, we are pretty much prepared in terms of our radio setup. Now let's quickly bring the different bearings into view, clicking the bearing 1 and 2 buttons. Like that we now see our mileage on the navigation display as well. We can skip through the ADF, but we don't need anything. ND overlay, we can switch our TCAS to below. Also, it's always a good idea to turn nav8 in airports on. And finally we have the synthetic vision on the primary flight display. Now, that is quite useful for when you are conducting approaches in low visibility conditions. However, when you are not flying in low visibility conditions, using synthetic vision is basically not required, so I'm going to switch it back on. The next thing we'll need is going to be the minimums for the approach, so let's have another look into the chart. And we can see that we only have category Charlie and Delta on here. This is a category Bravo airplane. So let's take the Cat C minima, 292. We can only set it in steps of 10s, so we are always going to round up, which makes it 300. So let's go MDA. And set our MDA of 300. Initially, NDA and DH will start blinking. That is to indicate a difference between the left and the right side. So our left side is now set correctly. Let's go over to the first officer and set this to NDA as well. It will take over the value automatically, but now they will essentially stop flashing. Okay, from here on we would conduct our arrival briefing, and that is basically the entire descent procedure completed already. Still got a couple miles to run to our top of descent, so let's use that time in order to either read the descent checklist, which we can do at this point, but we don't have to. But if we want to read it now, we can always bring it up in the list. Note that it doesn't show active until we've actually started our descent. So if we still want to bring it up manually, we're going to go to the normal procedures, enter that, and then we can scroll down all the way to descent, select that, and we can basically carry out the procedure over here. But do note that the procedure is going to show again once we actually leave our cruising altitude and start our actual descent. For that very reason, we don't really need to go over this right now. However, just for the sake of demonstration, let's do it nonetheless. Flight warning system recall, so we can go down here, press the recall button. Then landing elevation check. Do note that you don't see anything indicated in the landing elevation over here, which is correct when it comes from the automatic system. FMS, navigation and performance, set and checked. Note that this also brings up the performance page up here, which again indicates us our approach speeds. Decision height and minimum decision altitude set and checked, both on the left side and on the right side. Arrival briefing performed, descent checklist complete. And with that, the procedure is basically complete, but do note that it will bring up that checklist again once we actually start our descent. Alright, that shall conclude this part of the video. Next up, I'm going to see when we actually reach our top of descent, and start descending towards our destination. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope that you found this one interesting. If you did, then do let me know in the comments below. As always, like, comment and subscribe, and if you really like what I'm doing, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description below, or to welcome you as a channel member, which is going to give you exclusive early access to new videos before they're released for everyone else. Thank you for watching, and I see you again very soon.